Welcome everyone to my solo challenge run of Brilliant Diamond. This challenge run involves the Pokemon Togepi. You were probably expecting Palkia at this time, but due to some unfortunate circumstances, Palkia will be featured next week. Before getting into the run though, let's go over our little eggshell. Togepi makes its return from Johto in the Grand Underground of Brilliant Diamond. It also has the Fairy type, which makes it weak to poison and Steel type Pokemon. Do you see an issue already? This game was a faithful remake of the Generation 4 classic Diamond and Pearl, where Fairy types did not exist yet. There will be a lot of poison thrown around from various Pokemon that can learn it naturally or just through TMs. How about we switch gears though to those base stats? Togepi's best stats are its defense and special defense. With no access to Eviolite or the Assault Vest in this game, we will have to deal with what we are given. Special attack is decent, but with the rest of its stats, they're horrible. Even with high defenses, low HP means taking a hit will still pretty much hurt. It's time for the level up list. This one is actually not terrible at the start, but it falls off at the end. We keep Life Dew and Ancient Power from basically the beginning through Veilstone City, where we pick up some TMs. Speaking of TMs, how about that long list of them? I'm going to just mainly highlight all of the ones that we are going to use throughout the challenge. The main one here though is Nasty Plot, which is kind of like Swords Dance, except it raises special attack by up to 2 stages. This challenge will also be a no double team challenge, mainly because I didn't actually realize I could actually learn double team. With all that out of our way, help our eggshell of a Pokemon out by hitting that like and subscribe button. Togepi is here and we name it Spikehead. It will start at level 1 just like all of the other challenges we have done in the past. We get a Sassy Nature, which is actually the best for our little Togepi. Down speed and up special defense will help through some of the game. Of course that means we will be slower than most Pokemon. Serene Grace is the ability, and I'm going to put on screen a bit more detail on what it actually does. It's really good for attacks like Ancient Power or Shadow Ball, where you want an effect to happen a little more often. It doesn't work on status effects, unfortunately. After grinding for a while, Jubilife City is our traditional first stop to get that first TM workup. The two kids in the trainer school both have Abras that know Charge Beam. Pound is our only attacking move until level 16, unfortunately. But we will make do with what we have until then. As soon as we get that TM, it goes straight on, and it's time for our first rival fight. This challenge, the rival is named James. I'm not going to make the obvious reference just yet, but the rival does show what we're going to be up against. Starly does a lot of damage to Togepi before the Piplup comes out, but Piplup does not do much for damage. And we take this chance to use Life Dew to heal ourselves when we can. We also subject the Piplup to Sweet Kisses to confuse it and get some extra damage in sometimes. Since it's growling us, we are only doing 1 HP of damage no matter what. So this rival fight takes forever to take down, unfortunately. Also, you're only going to be shown the attempts that are won. There are over 200 total attempts throughout this game, and it'll be much better to show the winning ones. For this fight, it took a total of 2 attempts to take down. Check it out, our first gym leader Rorik already. We just go for the attack Ancient Power and it will be our saving grace here. Rock is not resisted by Rock crazy enough, but ground is resisted to Rock, meaning Geodude and Onix will be resisted to our main attack here. What we want is to get at least a couple of stat boosts before knocking out with Rock Smash. Keep in mind our ability, we have an increased chance of getting those boosts. After 2 boosts in a row, we feel like it's time to just take down the leader. Our speed should make it to where we are faster than most of his Pokemon. Of course, even with their attack being raised, Onix is actually a 3-shot to Rock Smash. I thought Kratos was going to actually get us because it started flinching Togepi with Headbutt, but on the 3rd attempt, no flinch, and 1 final Rock Smash to get our gym badge. Rorik was down in 1 attempt. Mars is next and actually tried to give us a hard time. She started out with Confusion and then switched to flinching with Astonish. Zubat was a 2-shot with Ancient Power, and then we have Pure Ugly to deal with. This cat is always fun for me to take down. It takes a little while with Rock Smash since it has a decent defense. Its main attack, Scratch, would take a while to get us down, and we just overwhelm it with the defense drops. Mars took one attempt as well. Now we have our first major roadblock of the series, unfortunately. So much so that I actually had to grind to level 29 in order to take her down. This is actually after 29 different attempts. Yes, you actually heard me correct. 29 attempts at taking down Gardenia. The only way to get through this is to work up 4 times while getting pelted with attacks from Cherubi. Our friendship is high at this point, so I'm hoping for dodges as well. Cherubi goes down, and next is Turtwig. Turt actually gave me a chance to heal with Life Dew before hitting it with Ancient Power. We got the boost from it, which is well needed for Roserade. Petal Blizzard does a lot of damage even with our defenses the way they are. Our only attack here is Ancient Power as well, and we get another boost in the middle of it. This is the only way that I could think of to take down Gardenia. This is also a frustrating point in most runs because that Roserade is just so strong at this point. Jupiter legit sucks for Togepi. Remember our weakness? Jupiter takes that and throws it at us while adding in Confusion to the mix. We need at least 2 workup in order to take down the Zubat with an Ancient Power, all while being pelted with Poison Fangs and Supersonics. I like Zubat, really, but not when it's used in this capacity. We get a boost from taking down Zubat, which is actually quite nice. Skuntank takes 2 hits with Ancient Power at this point instead of 3 like I had planned on. Getting poisoned is not a big thing here as we can end the fight quick before it takes us down. Jupiter took 3 attempts to get down. James for the second time is another roadblock. Can you believe it? He actually took me 15 different attempts to get down. The thing is, I had actually taken Life Dew off for Grass Knot at this point, and I believe that may have been actually what caused most of the issues. Also, we can't use berries on this fight due to Pluck being a thing. It's just a rough fight to deal with at this time. Starly does his normal thing of Endeavor and then attempting double teams, but we land an Ancient Power to knock it out. Prinplup has the major issue here as well. It has such a high defense and special defense stat right now that our Grass Knot doesn't do enough unless we power up with Workup. We got a lucky critical, and that's basically the end of the fight there. Roselia paralyzes with Stun Spore, and Ponyta doesn't deal much damage with its Flame Charge. Would you actually believe me if I told you that this is not the hardest rival fight we had to deal with? At Veilstone, we pick up the TM for Flamethrower, and our first major stab damage, Dazzling Gleam. We also picked up Shockwave on the way here as well, and now we are looking really good with attacks, swapping out Ancient Power for Flamethrower and Grass Knot for Dazzling Gleam. You'll also notice that I have the Lucky Egg at this point. I traded that in to help with this challenge for experience grinding. It has been a necessity for this challenge. Right before the gym is a dude that will give us the TM for Nasty Plot, and this is going into place of Workup immediately. Not gonna lie, we actually have a pretty lit moveset right now. Eventually we will swap out for Shadow Ball when we get it, but still, really damn good. Maylene is next, and we cover all of her weaknesses. It's been a while, but Maylene only took 1 attempt to get through. Metatite starts with Light Screen, and we go ahead and pop that Nasty Plot. Dazzling Gleam takes care of not only Metatite, but also the Machoke as well. This is even through a Light Screen, which raises the party's special defense. Lastly, we have Lucario, which I don't think could do anything against us really. It just used a Bulk Up and a Screech before being Flamethrowered to death. Maylene was the easiest fight we have had so far. and much needed after what we have been through. I really like showing this double battle with the second rival against the two grunts. This time around, I actually have a huge reason for it. It actually took me 2 attempts to win. The sheer amount of damage that can be thrown out just by Dustox and Beautifly alone is enough to knock you down quickly if you're not prepared. This run was a lot better since Clefairy was actually healing with Life Dew and keeping us alive. That's the main reason I wanted to show this fight. Togepi is starting to lose that small edge on Pokemon, and it's starting to really show here. This is probably the only run I'm ever actually going to do with this, but we had a change of clothes in the middle of it. Comment below if you actually like the change. Leader Wake, as he is actually called here, is next. Togepi has Shockwave in its arsenal of attacks, so we shouldn't have too much of an issue here. We start off with a nasty plot just to make sure we have enough firepower behind us just in case. And then shock the Gyarados for 4 times damage. Up next is Quagsire, who takes a dazzling gleam to its face and falls right over Confuzzled. His last Pokemon, Floatzel, misses its Ice Fang and is shocked just like Gyarados was for a knockout. Wake was down in 1 attempt and was actually easier than Maylene was. We have a rival fight up next, and I couldn't help but wonder if we were going to have the same trouble as last time. I was actually happily surprised. Starly went down to a Shockwave. Primplup took 3 Shockwaves, but it didn't do near enough damage back to us to worry. Roselia goes down to a 2-shot Flamethrower after paralyzing us, and then Ponyta just tried to speed up and lower our attack. Not a terrible rival fight by any means, but it only took 1 attempt as well. Fantina is our 5th gym leader. Before Celestic Town, we picked up the TM for Shadow Ball, and we taught it in place of Shockwave. Don't worry, Shockwave is going to make a return later, as there is another TM for it in the underground we can grab. This leader also took 3 attempts in leveling up a little to finally win. Drifloon always liked to use Fly right out of the gate, which gave me the opportunity for a nasty plot. Then Shadow Ball next turn. Gengar was actually a real huge threat due to Sludge Bomb, but it missed thankfully, and a Shadow Ball takes it down. Miss Magius can prove an issue. It has high special attack and confuses right off the bat. The confusion does hurt, but we do get the win against the Ghost Leader. The hardest part of her gym is definitely Gengar by far. It's time for the next to last rival fight of the game. Once again, James only took 1 attempt to get down. Staravia only used Double Team the entire time, which let me set up 3 nasty plots. Somehow I hit through a +4 evasion with my Dazzling Gleam. Primplup uses Charm, which actually doesn't matter to us, and gets Dazzling Gleamed as well. Roselia paralyzes with Stun Spore, and we get the good old roll to hit the Flamethrower to knock it out with. Ponyta uses Agility once again, and we break through our paralysis to use Shadow Ball for a knockout. And the new member is Heracross, which just leers, and we once again break through paralysis to dazzle the bug down for the win. I was extremely happy with how this fight turned out. Not so much against Byron. He took me 14 attempts to get through, and honestly, we only got through it by sheer luck. Bronzor does Trick Room, which makes us slower than it, because, we were faster. Then it sets up a Sandstorm. Sometimes they would even set up Light Screen as well, but this attempt it actually did not. We need 3 nasty plots for Bastiodon to get it down in 2 hits. Bronzor needs a Shadow Ball in its face. Steelix is kind of a wall for a bit until the potion spam is used up, then it finally goes down to Flamethrower. This is perfect because we wanted him to use his potions here instead of on Bastiodon, his next Pokemon. That Flash Cannon leaves us at 1 HP because of the friendship hanging on by a thread, and we take it out next turn. I feel like otherwise we would have needed to level up into the 60s before actually taking it down. I'll be honest, on Saturn, I thought when Kadabra was using Kinesis, we were going to have multiple attempts at this. Crazy enough, it only took 1 single attempt. luck was on our side with a nasty plot Shadow Ball to it finally. It took 2 turns to get Bronzor down due to missing with Shadow Ball, but Toxicroak was the real problem. We missed for 3 turns and got Toxic'd. Eventually we do get through with a Dazzling Gleam to knock it down completely. That fight could have gone a lot worse than it did. Mars takes a swing at us next, and it also only took 1 single attempt. Golbat uses Poison Fang until it finally poisoned Togepi, and from then on it's a race against time before the poison gets us. It takes 3 turns to take down Golbat, 1 turn for Nasty Plot and the remaining 2 for Shadow Balls. Bronzor falls to a single Shadow Ball thankfully, and then Purugly gets a Slash in before falling to a Dazzling Gleam. We all know Candace and just how much trouble she has given me in the past few runs. I'm here today to tell you that this run was only 1 attempt. This was the best Candace fight I've ever had. We set up 1 nasty plot before hitting Snover with the flames. Sneasel is not much different and goes down in 1 flamethrower as well. Medicham is faster than us but misses the rock slide and gets dazzled right back for super effective damage. Abomasnow had the chance here to do major damage, but it instead did Aurora Veil to increase defenses, but a flamethrower still knocks it out in 1 hit. The best Candace fight ever. Want to see another awesome fight? How about the first Cyrus fight? You know just how easy this one is. Same story here with only 1 attempt needed. Murkrow hurts Spikehead with a Nightshade while we set up a nasty plot. It then taunts us, but we are ready to go for the knockouts at this point with Dazzling Gleam. Golbat does do damage with Poison Fang and poisons us, but we knock out with a critical Shadow Ball. Then we have Sneasel. It does hit with Metal Claw, but it deals insignificant damage and gets blasted with fire right back to it. How about another 1 attempt fight? This Saturn fight was actually easier than the previous one we had with him. We only need 1 nasty plot, but Kadabra Rain Dances. This time around, it only gets 1 Kinesis off before fainting, which gives us a better chance of hitting the remaining Pokemon. We miss the first attack on Bronzor and get a tiny bit of damage dealt back to us. Toxicroak just uses Toxic, and then we blast it with Gleam. Between the next 2 fights, it took a total of 8 attempts to get through. Only 3 of them actually made it to the second Cyrus fight. The major thing I learned in this fight is to not only rely on stat upgrades, because the Golbats will eliminate them when they first come out. Togepi is slower than everything except the Bronzors. They will always put up Reflect and Light Screen to hinder you. Afterwards, they will confuse you and the rival Pokemon. By this time, 1 should be taken down. I also try to focus on 1 commander at a time here to make it somewhat easier. But of course, the rival will do whatever it wants to do. At this point, Skuntank will poison you as well. It's just an annoyance this time around with Togepi. We are so much weaker than the previous Pokemon we have used before, and it shows here. Eventually we get to the Golbat that uses Haze to eliminate our nasty plot, and pretty much it's just a race to see if we can outpace the commanders. It's really just a huge test of endurance and some luck included as well. Remember, this is an official win that takes you to Cyrus and wins from there. I've had 3 separate wins before this as well, but each gets wiped away due to how this part of the game works. Let's get away from those 2 and get to Cyrus for the final time. This is extremely difficult and relied on luck most of it. By the way, there's an item available from the beginning of the game that would have helped quite a bit during this run, but I don't get it until the final rival fight. However, Honchkrow always does Steel Wing and Defog as its first 2 moves. We use this to set up 2 nasty plots which are muchly needed. Crobat is the major issue, and it doesn't show it in this particular run. It has Cross Poison, which will one-shot Togepi. I've actually had it happen, and it sucks to have this happen. it goes down to High Roll Shadow Ball, which is much needed. Gyarados tries to flinch with Waterfall, but fails and gets dazzled for it. Weavile still has Metal Claw, but doesn't deal enough damage and falls to the Gleam as well. Honestly, after all of that, I'm super happy to get past this part. Of course, we still have Dialga, who has Steel types, but it just didn't feel like using them, I guess. And it just lets us walk right over it, since we're an eggshell. Volkner is our final gym leader and was quite interesting to fight. Raichu was an annoyance as always, using that Volt Switch since we are slower. First one lets us get in a nasty plot, but Ambipom uses Fake Out and gets some more damage in. We do get it down with Dazzling Gleam. Then the Raichu does it again for Octillery, which we one-shot for Dazzling. Then the Raichu does it again for Luxray, which we one-shot with Dazzling Gleam. I'm not sure why, but then they used Surf this time and almost knocked us out, but didn't. I actually think a Thunderbolt or Volt Switch would have actually done it. But pretty much Volkner gave us the win on that. Remember when I said which rival fight was going to be the worst one? Well, here it is. For a grand total of 35 attempts and some mental breakdowns, we have the final rival fight. This is where I finally went and got the damn Quick Claw item, which gives us a chance to act first in the turn. Sadly, it's pretty much required for the remainder of the game. We need to set up 2 nasty plots for most of his Pokemon. Staraptor says forget this and U-turns out for Rapidash. Rapidash takes the Shockwave and falls in one hit. The Quick Claw lets Spikehead go faster than Empoleon, and we knock it out with Shockwave. Remember, I told you it would come back. Snorlax is a sponge and a half. No matter what, it is a 2-shot with our Dazzling Gleam, and it yawns Togepi, putting it to sleep after it knocks out Snorlax. It was super scary as the next Pokemon is Roserade. Crazy enough, it does not have a poison attack, and throws out a grassy terrain to help with healing. It takes 2 turns, but we do wake up and a Shadow Ball for the knockout. Heracross tried to Swords Dance, but it got Dazzling Gleamed instead, and then Staraptor returns. It almost knocked us out, but we hold on and finally take the W over James for the final time. Can you see why we had so many issues with this fight? Well, I'm here to tell you, it's about to get worse. I'm gonna say it one final time. The fights I'm showing you are the ones that we won. I'm not showing any extra attempts during this challenge. Aaron is our first Elite Four member. We set up only 2 of the nasty plots, as it typically will take down Dustox in 2 hits. This time, however, it actually doesn't. It puts up Light Screen and then it uses Toxic on us to make things a lot worse. Heracross hits us with Earthquake, dealing some damage, and we respond with knocking it out with a Dazzling Gleam. Beautifly had a chance to do something, but instead Quiver Dances, while being burned to the Flamethrower. Vespiquen tries Defend Order to raise the defenses, but still actually falls to 1 Flamethrower. Keep in mind, we're still in Light Screen. Drapion is the big issue here with Cross Poison. Thankfully it misses, and we knock it out with Flamethrower. It took 2 attempts to get through Aaron. Bertha is our first wall in the Elite Four. We really don't have a good way to deal with Ground-type Pokemon. We set up 2 nasty plots while getting pelted with Earthquakes. Those suckers hurt coming from a Quagsire. After knocking it out, next is Wishcash. We are so glad that it missed the Hydro Pump. It falls to a Dazzling Gleam, and up next is Sudowoodo, who falls in 1 attack. Golem is where our problems are. It has Heavy Slam, and can basically one-shot Togepi with it because of the weight difference. This was the one time we lucked out with being saved by the holding on by a thread. Not once, but twice in a row. Actually make that 3 times in a row because Hippowdon is faster and hits with Earthquake. Seriously, without the friendship, this run would be nearly impossible, I believe, at this point. We spent 23 attempts at Bertha to squeeze by and make it to Flint. Flint took us 4 attempts to get by, and all of them were stuck on this stupid Rapidash. On this attempt, I swapped the held item to a Chesto Berry, since it used Hypnosis more than anything. We get 2 nasty plots off before it actually puts us to sleep for a turn. Shadow Ball then takes it completely out. Steelix falls to a Flamethrower since it does not have the Sturdy ability, and Lopunny goes down to a Dazzling Gleam. We then get burned by Drifblim, but it falls to a Shadow Ball. Spikehead heals the burn through Friendship, and lastly is Infernape. Fire Punch does a lot of damage, but leaves us barely alive to send a Dazzling Gleam its way, and we forget it has Focus Sash. Of course, the AI always goes for the heal instead of the knockout for some reason, and we knock out Infernape. Lucian is a trainer from hell. It took us 32 attempts to finally get past this member. We have to have 3 nasty plots on Mr. Mime in order to 2-shot it with Shadow Ball. Same with a lot of the other members, but this is all while being pelted with Psychic Blast that could possibly lower special defense. Basically, we are a 3-shot for Mr. Mime as well, so that does not help at all. Once it finally goes down, we have Alakazam. This time, the Quick Claw activated and we knock it out with Shadow Ball. If it pops off Future Sight, I typically would reset just due to how much damage it does, and I know it would knock out when it hit. Girafarig is typically a 2-shot for Dazzling Gleam, but a critical takes it down in 1 attack and it missed its attack. This was the run where everything was going perfectly. Medicham is next and can 1-shot us with High Jump Kick. But we go first with Quick Claw and knock it out instead. Bronzong then goes down to 1 Shadow Ball, which was a critical as well. This was the perfect run to get through Lucian. But guess who else needed a near perfect run to get through? That's right, Cynthia. After 6 hours and over 70 attempts, we finally got the perfect run. At this point, I was questioning if I should call this run a fail and put it out as so, or keep pushing against this unbreaking wall and just try to overcome it. See, here's the thing. We have to have 3 nasty plots in order to take down Melodic and Gastrodon. But not only that, we are a 3-shot to Spirit Tomb Shadow Ball, or 2 if it lowers our special defense. We are faster than it, but that doesn't matter very much. Also, I want you to check out my HP. We are 1 HP because of Friendship, and this is the run that defeats the champion. Once Spirit Tomb goes down, we have Roserade next, who has Sludge Bomb, which even at full HP, will 1-shot poor Spikehead. This is why we needed the Quick Claw in order to get through the speed barrier and knock it out first. Third up is Gastrodon, which we are faster than, even without the Quick Claw. And with the boost from earlier, we knock it out with a Dazzling Gleam. It also knows Sludge Bomb as well, by the way. Fourth is Lucario, and once again the Quick Claw activates right when we need it to. Flamethrower knocks out Lucario in 1 attack. And next to last Pokemon is Melodic, and I held my breath for a minute here. We did not 1-shot the Melodic, and it uses Mirror Coat. We stay at 1 HP because of Friendship, and we crit the next turn to take it out. The final Pokemon is Garchomp, and the Quick Claw beautifully activates right when we need it, and Garchomp goes down to 1 Dazzling Gleam. Like I said before, we had to have a perfect run in order for this to be pulled off. No items in battle, and a solo run of Togepi is now complete. I may have also ugly cried at the end of this because of how long it took to get through. The lesson learned here was persevere, and it will take you farther than you ever dreamed it would. With 16 hours in game and probably 40 outside of game with all of the resets, I want to thank you for watching, and next week is Palkia for sure. See you then.